Okay, friends. Hello. I look a little bit like a mess today. I wasn't planning on recording anything today, but I flew through Powerless. I started it multiple days ago, but I didn't actually really read much of it until yesterday and today, and I finished the book. I think I had read 4 chapters leading up to that, and then all the rest of it I did today. I did a good chunk of it on Spotify for audiobook just while I was working and stuff, and then I read the last few chapters just out of the book, as well as the first like 4 chapters. But I had picked this book for the TBR for this month as my 5-star prediction. I was right. It's a 5-star prediction. I absolutely ate this book up. I loved it. I'm honestly, I don't even feel like I don't have words right now because I'm still kind of reeling because I finished it literally like 15 minutes ago. But I absolutely adored this book. I loved Pei. She is so strong and so witty and just so special, even though she's not special, you know? Like, she doesn't have powers, she doesn't have anything but really her mind and the lessons that her father taught her. It's just been so good. I loved the trials aspect of this. I love how much was touched on through the trials. Like, they weren't just kind of like glanced over and done quickly. Like, it was actually a really good way to go through them and actually like go through these trials with them. I also really adored the dual POV in all of this. I loved seeing between both Pei and Kai's minds. Also, Kai, I love him. I love Kai. He's amazing. He's so morally gray, but also like so sweet, perfect, and I just adore him and everything that they went through in this, and I loved watching their relationship build and stuff, even though this might be a little bit spoilery. But even though they don't, like, have a super romantic, like, nothing, like, sexy happens, like, there's no smut or anything like that, but it's just seeing their connection and how it grows through the whole thing that's so, it's just so nice to see, like, through all of this, watching their relationship grow and watching both of them open up to somebody that it seems like the person that they really would never open up to. I also really like Kit until the end, which I still don't know if I dislike him. I just know that he's hurting. But I really like a lot of the characters, like the main ones anyway. I like the relationship between Pei and Adina. I love their relationship. Super cute. I think it's amazing that she found a family after hers was taken from her, you know? So I feel like that's just a really sweet thing to add into this. Like I said, the trials are really good. I really enjoyed going through all of these trials with them and seeing the different perspectives between her and Kai through these trials and seeing like how their minds worked, because I think that was just really good. Seeing how differently they both think, but also kind of the same. The trials themselves were wild. I wasn't expecting them at all. Especially just like all of the outside factors of the trials as well. Like, it wasn't just them going up against each other. There was other things within the trials that were going against them, like creatures and weather and stuff, which I thought was really cool. This is very much got touches of like Hunger Games, but there was also little like Harry Pottery touches, which you'll understand that when you actually get into it with one of the trials. But overall I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed the trials and seeing how somebody without powers was able to still go through all of these go through all of these trials with just her wits and her fighting capabilities without having like an actual power like the elites do. I also really enjoyed seeing all the different powers and what they were called, like a dual who has two powers, somebody who can dual, who can wield fire and water. There's powers that you can transform your, like, shapeshift into animals and stuff. There's powers that you can teleport and telekinesis kind of thing. There's one called Brawny where the people are just super strong. There's just a bunch of different ones, and then there's like fatals, which are like silencers and mind readers and stuff like that, so they're much higher up. Overall, it was just really, really good. I really enjoyed the dynamic between the main characters. It was starting to feel kind of like a why choose between Kit and Kai, which they're brothers and they're both princes. So it was definitely something a little bit different. And I loved seeing the relationship between the brothers. I loved seeing the dynamic between them and how, even though they grew up so differently, they still were very, very familial with each other. Like they didn't let how they grew up affect them together as siblings. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it as well. I really liked seeing and like hearing stories about them when they were younger and their relationships with people in the palace that they're kind of close to. And it was nice to see how their relationships differed when it came to Pei, how Kai's and Pei's relationship was compared to how Kit and Pei's relationship was, but then they also had a lot of similarities within them as well. So it was just overall really, really good. I feel like I'm rambling because I have no idea. Like, I'm still trying to digest everything, and I'm saying like a lot, and it's really gonna bother me. I highly recommend this book. If you're looking for something that's not spicy, like there's like romance throughout it and stuff, but it's not spicy romance. And if you love trials and you love fantasy and and powers and kind of rooting for an underdog, I think you'll really enjoy this book. I really, 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 really enjoyed it. I hope you guys think about picking this up, and I will talk to you soon. Hi friends, hello. It's me. I am going through and trying to edit a video and realized that I wanted to say some more about Powerless because I think I'm going to make Powerless its own video. It's not going to be like a reading vlog because I basically listened to it on an audiobook while I was working and stuff, so I don't really have any footage at all from reading it, but I did want to go back through and talk about this a little bit more and kind of dig in a little bit deeper about all what I thought. So I have a little bit of a list I want to go through here. It's somebody who I really enjoy watching. She started doing some book content, but she also is just really funny and she sings and stuff as well. Her name is Elise Myers. So overall, I want to go over just a few different things here. So like some of the things I'm going to touch on. I don't know if I'll touch on all of these, but I want to go over the plot, the characters, the setting, the writing style, which I'm not really big about writing style stuff usually. Pacing, originality, emotional impact, overall enjoyment, and ending. So I think I might not touch on like the writing style or themes as much, but the plot of this is really good. It's basically we are following a girl named Peyton who her father died 5 years ago and she's living on the streets with her best friend Adina. Now they live in a world the place that they live, there are ordinaries and then there are elites. And the ordinaries don't possess any kind of powers or anything, whereas the elites have powers. Now, some of those powers can include being a duel, where you can control water and fire and like summon water and fire. You can do telekinesis, where somebody can control stuff with their mind, so like they can start throwing weapons and things with their minds. There's Brawny, which Brawny is somebody who's really, really strong, like overwhelmingly strong. Then there's shape-shifting, where somebody can turn into, I don't remember what the name of that, I don't know if it's called shape-shifting or anything, but it's, you can transform into animals or and stuff. Or there's a power where you can use other people's powers. So if they're within a certain range of you, say I was one of these people who had one of these powers, I would be able to then take somebody within a certain range of me and use their dual power, so I could control the water and the fire. But you kind of have to practice with those so that when you feel them, you know what they are and how to like go about using them. So it's a really cool world and plot. It's basically this girl who, she saves the life of somebody in the slums that she lives in. She's out and about trying to steal money to survive and steal stuff so that her and her best friend are able to live. And she comes across a man who she had just stolen from and kind of had a little bit of a connection with, who is being attacked by what is called a silencer. Now, silencers in these are considered fatals. There's like ordinaries, elites, and then they have fatals. And the fatals are elites as well, but they have powers that are overwhelmingly dangerous. Like a silencer can stop other people's powers from working. And then there's like mind readers who obviously are powerful because they can read people's minds and stuff like that. So those are just some of the like silencer, like, I mean, some of the fatal, a couple of the fatal powers. But she comes across a silencer silencing the guy that she just stole some money from, and she ends up getting involved, and basically she doesn't kill the guy, but she does help him. She doesn't kill the silencer, but she helps the man that he's silencing by breaking the silencer's connection to him so that he's focused on her, and then they take him down together. Because she is an ordinary, she doesn't have powers for him to silence, so his power has no effect on her. Now, she is living like she is an elite. She basically pretends that she is a psychic, which she is quite good at because she's super observant, so people do believe that she is a psychic because she is a very, very observant person and can see things about them, like, just by looking at them and, like, facial expressions and stuff to know if she's on the right track. So every time somebody asks her, she's able to prove that she is, even though she's not. So it's basically following this girl who she unwittingly, unbeknownst to her, the guy she saves is a prince of the land that she lives in, one of the princes, and she saves him, and then the people end up deciding that they want her to take place in these trials, that it's like a competition that happens within the castle, like the king and queen host this trial, and it's supposed to be just for elites, and she is the only ordinary who ends up in this because obviously they don't think she's an ordinary. If she was an ordinary, she would have been killed, because they are going through, they basically think the king has been saying that ordinaries plague and can cause illness to elites that stifle their powers and that can have an impact on their powers. So all of the ordinaries have been hunted down and killed, as well as the fatals. So she basically has to go through this whole trial and try to keep herself alive and try to win without having any, like, specialty power or anything. She only has her wits and the fact that she knows how to fight because her father taught her before he died. And it follows her going through these trials and the things that happen between the trials and the budding romance between her and Kai, who is the prince that she did save. But it also kind of shows somewhat of a romance between her and the other prince, Kit, who he is the one who's in line to take the throne as king, and Kai is in line to become Kit's enforcer. So basically, the king rules, and the enforcer takes care of whatever the king needs killing wise. So, like, if the king needs somebody killed or punished, if Kit needs somebody killed or punished once he becomes king, Kai is the one who would be in charge of doing that. So she has this extreme connection with Kai, and she's trying to fight it because she believes that the king, who is Kai's father, is the person that killed her father. And which could or could not be true. So she's trying not to form a connection with him and trying to fight this connection with him because she doesn't want to get involved with someone whose father killed her father, also who has been hunting people like her, because obviously she's an ordinary and she's been hiding that. Now, she is lucky in the fact that there's only one person now in her life since her father died that knows that she's an ordinary, and that is her best friend Adina. Now, Adina is an elite. I forget what her power is. Oh, she can walk through walls and stuff. She can just, like, walk through stuff. She doesn't need to climb. She can just, like, walk through a wall. But it's really a good story, and I really enjoy the trials and going through them, and they're more drawn out. They're not, like, really quick, and it doesn't feel like they're just rushed through. It's cool seeing all the different powers and how everybody uses them and how they fight each other, and how really sick the king's mind is and how he makes these trials. It's like the first one, they're all against each other. And the second one, it's 2 teams. So, like, 3 people are on one team, 3 people are on another team, and whichever team gets to the top of the mountain first wins. But then it's like, in that trial, they have to work together to get to the top of the mountain and then fight each other. So it's just a lot. I mean, you see the really sickly, deprived mind of the king, and they have, like, I forget what they're called, but there's these people who are in the trials who just, they don't speak, they don't do anything. They literally are just walking around recording, like, with their minds, what is happening in the trials, and then that gets played for everybody. Like, all the audience and the contestants, because these trials are much different than trials normally are, because Kai is a part of them. Because he's going to be the enforcer, they are testing his abilities as an enforcer and to see if he will make a good enforcer. So the trials are much different this time. Like, they aren't done the same like normally. The trials are all held in the bowl, which is like a big stadium thing that they can have a live audience at. And in this one, they don't have that until the very last trial. So for the first 2 trials, I think they're called seers or something, but they walk around and they record what's going on, and it gets played for the people that are watching. And then we have, so that's like a little bit about the plot. Now, the characters. Let's go over the characters. Peyton is obviously an ordinary. She lives in the slums. She lives in Loot Alley. And she's homeless with her best friend Adina, and they have basically been just trying to survive over the past few years together. And Adina is the only one who knows that she is an ordinary. So Peyton's our main girl. She is the one who lost her father, is participating in these trials as an ordinary, and the only person who knows that she's an ordinary is her best friend. Now, her best friend Adina is able to walk through walls and objects and things. She is a seamstress, so Peyton often steals like fabrics and stuff for her to make clothes and things to go sell so that they can make some money. And Adina does kind of become a little bit of a bigger part throughout the book. Like, you'll see if you read it how that happens. And then we'll go on to Kai. I adore Kai so much. Like, he is very much morally gray. Like, he has no problem with killing, but he also doesn't like to kill children. And he, even though he needs to win these trials, like, he has to, or else there's punishment, and I think he doesn't get to become the enforcer, which is what he's trained literally his whole life for, like, since he was a child, which you see in this as well. I will say that some of the stuff in this could be a little bit hard, like, it's not, like, hard like a dark romance dark, but Kai, when he's growing up, his father basically tortures him and abuses him to teach him how to become an enforcer. So, like, he makes him do things that he's very much afraid of, like a fear of heights. He makes him fight and continually go through things to get over that fear of heights. He physically hurts him so that he can heal him. He can learn to heal himself. And just stuff like this. And he needs to understand how to torture, so he had to withstand torture. It's just a bit like, there are some dark things to this book, so please be aware of that before you pick it up. But it is a really good book. Like, I think it is rated as like a YA. There is no spice to this. Like, you can see the connection in like the romance building between Peyton and Kai, but there's not really anything. It's not like sexual in any way. But Kai is one of the two princes, and he is destined to become the enforcer, and he is going through these trials to prove that he can be an enforcer. But throughout these trials, even though he could easily win each trial, he protects Peyton, and he tries to help her, and they help each other throughout these trials. And it's a really sweet thing to see them, and like the moments and stuff that they have both in the trials and between the trials, because like they have a week or two between each trial where they continue to train, and they have to do a ball, like a party the night before each trial. So seeing their relationship is really sweet. And even though he's super morally gray, you're so drawn to him. Like, he's such a good character. Like, he's witty and funny and teasing and sweet, but also like he has that really dark side to him that he has to have for who he needs to be, which I think is really amazing. I really, really loved his character, and I couldn't get enough. Like, every time he came up in the book or it was one of his chapters, I was just enthralled. Like, I loved it. And then we'll go talk about Kit, who is the other king, the other prince. He is the one who's destined to become the actual ruler. So he grew up a much different life than Kai did. Kit, while Kai was being tortured and abused and did not have like a loving relationship with his father at all, or a good relationship with his father at all, because his father was the one who made him do all these things, Kit his training was going through meetings and over paperwork and sitting with his father in the study, and them having a much more of a personal, I wouldn't exactly say loving, but a much more not toxic relationship. And you can see that difference between the two of them. Like, you can see that Kit is much lighter, and he is, like, he also kind of has a relationship with Peyton, like, he wants to. And she starts to like spending time with him. Like, she originally didn't want to, because he looked so much like the king, and all she could see when she looked at him was her father's killer. But then she starts to really, like, open up to him and realize that he's completely different from his father. Like, he's very sweet and caring, and he just wants to spend time with her, and he's a very sweet person. And it's very interesting to see that even though these two are like, I think the same age or right around the same age, that Kai is so much more dark compared to Kit, and how different them growing up made them. But they're still super close. Like, they have a very close bond and a connection. So that's really, really sweet. And I think they're not actually like brothers, they're stepbrothers. Like, they have different moms. But I think that this is a really, really great story. Because I think Kit's mom passed away, and Kai's mom is the current queen. So, but those are basically the main characters, and then you have some like other side characters throughout this, like the other contestants in the trials and the king and the queen. And then there's Jax, Jax is basically like an adopted prince. I don't really remember how he's involved, but he's basically the younger sibling, even though he's not actually siblings, with Kai and Kit. But they treat him like a baby brother, which I think is a very sweet thing. And Kit's only 15, so or not Kit, Jax is only 15, so it's really, really sweet. But yeah, that's a bit on the characters. The setting, I think, was really, really nice. She's very good at describing the differences between Loot Alley and like the castle and the bowl and the trials. Like, you feel like you're in each of those places. It doesn't feel like you have a hard time stepping into what part you're in now, which I think is really, really good. All of the settings really match with what's happening at the time. Like when they're in the castle and they're going through just the training grounds and doing their training between the ball, and you can really feel the difference between each of the places you go to, which I really liked. Now, the pacing was really good. There were a couple little bit of slow parts, but they weren't actually slow. Like, it's like during training, but they're still like the two of them are training together and they're bickering and like teasing and distracting each other and competing against each other. Like, they do these little competitions to see who's better at archery, or they do like a hand-to-hand combat and stuff, which is really fun. And then for the trials and stuff, the pacing was done really well. Like, they weren't rushed, but they weren't too drawn out either, and they were very descriptive, and it was very fun. And I just think the pacing of this was perfect. I really enjoyed the pacing for this book. Then the originality. I thought this book was pretty original. It does have, like, obviously that touch of Hunger Games with the trials and, like, fighting for your life and stuff. And one of the trials reminds me a lot of a Harry Potter portion of Goblet of Fire when they do the Triwizard Tournament. So it's just a really good fantasy book, and I really enjoy the concept. I think it's really cool that it's not just one kind of love interest, even though you don't see her really like falling for Kit at all. It's nice to see the two of the brothers wanting her and treating her like in very different ways, kind of. But I do think that this was original. It did have touches of other things as well, but I do think like the power system and the whole premise of the book is very original, and I really enjoyed that about it. I really enjoyed seeing all the different powers and the names that she comes up with in order to describe these powers, and like they all make sense. Like, all the names make sense to what the power is. Like a telekinesis person is called a tele, which I think is really cool. And then emotional impact. This made me feel very good, this book. I really, really enjoyed it. It did leave off on a cliffhanger, but not a cliffhanger, so I was a little bit salty. I do have Reckless on Audible to start listening to, but I wanted to make sure I get these videos uploaded before I start listening, because if I start listening to Reckless, nothing else will be done for the rest of the day. So I wanted to get these edited, which is why I'm filming this right now to put this into the video. Because I did just finish this yesterday. Like, I finished this at like 5:15-ish last night. But it made me giggle, and it was fun, and it got your heart racing at some points, and it made you feel a lot of different things, but overall, this book just made me feel good. Like, I really enjoyed reading it. I didn't want to put it down. And I've been in a bit of a reading slump lately, like, not like a reading slump, I just haven't wanted to pick up my books. I've been kind of trying to force myself to read at least a little bit a day, like a chapter or two a day, because I have a streak going on Fable, and I really don't want to ruin it because it's at like 45 days or something. It's just too many for it to be nixed. But my problem is like, I'm having a hard time picking the books up, and then I pick them up and I can't put them down. So it's not like I don't want to read and I'm like not enjoying the books. It's like there's other stuff that I want to be doing instead of reading, but once I actually choose to sit down and pick the book up, I can't stop, and I just want to read. And that's what's been kind of getting to me the past couple weeks, as I've kind of been wanting to do other things, and then I have trouble picking it up. But with all that being said, this book made me feel happy about reading it. Made me want to pick this up over and over again, and it made me, like, I literally finished this basically in 2 days. I did a lot of it, half of it yesterday, and basically the other half the day before. I only read like 20-something pages before yesterday, or Tuesday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday was basically this, listening to this on audiobook while I worked. But it really is, it does make you feel, like, you can feel the sadness for her, and you really do feel the emotions that you should be feeling, and I think that's a really good sentiment of a book, is if you can feel the feelings that the author is trying to portray. I think the book does its job. Overall enjoyment, 10 out of 10, loved it. I had a blast. Like I've said through this whole thing, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And the ending, like I said, is kind of a cliffhanger, but kind of not. Basically, something big happens, Peyton runs, and now Kai has to hunt her down. That's basically the end of this. So we're going to start out the next book by, I think, following Peyton and Kai, with her on the run and him trying to find her. Which you'll understand more of that if you read the book, because I don't want to do spoilers or anything. But overall, I thought this book was absolutely amazing. I really, really enjoyed this. I can't wait to start the second one. I am such a fantasy girl at heart, and I've been kind of trying to read stuff outside of fantasy because I don't want to just bust through all the fantasy stuff that I have. But I really do, like, fantasy just gets me, and it really pulls me in, and this book was no different. Like, I feel like I'm starting to, I don't want to say that I'm not a YA reader anymore, because I don't think that's true. Now that I've experienced, like, spice in books and stuff, it seems a little weird not having spice, but this book, I didn't feel weird about not having spice, if that makes sense. Like, their relationship and the build-up and, like, the tension between them is really good. And, like, you get to the point where it's like you just want them to freaking kiss already. Like, you don't really need all that extra. Like, you're so happy watching their relationship blossom and them trying to fight it, and then it's just a really good story, and I really, really enjoyed it. And if you guys do choose to pick this up, please do let me know. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. If you didn't like it, I guess I can listen to you tell me that, but I probably won't be happy about it. But obviously, if anybody wants to talk about the book, please do make comments below. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on it. Don't tell me anything about the next one if you have read them already, because I'm trying to go into it mostly blind. Like, I don't really, I'm just assuming that we're going to be following them with him trying to find her, based on how this ended. So I really loved it. I highly recommend it. It was a 5-star read for me, which is a good thing, because I chose it as my 5-star prediction prompt for this month. So, like I said, if you do choose to pick it up, please do let me know, and let me know what you think of it when you do read it. If you do, I hope you guys stay happy, healthy, and safe. If you like this video, please do hit the like button, and feel free to subscribe. It really does help me out a lot, and I truly do appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!